Hey guys, so I've been going to a lot of blacksmithing conventions lately. I recently demonstrated at the 10th annual Steep Hollow combo demo. I helped my lovely partner Janelle make a turtle. On this channel we also have a video of us making a very similar turtle. And it just got me thinking that I need to up my game. I ran into a lot of great blacksmiths and they're so much more talented than I am. So I need to hit the books, literally. So I'm gonna start working my way through the practical projects for the blacksmith. The first one's a meat skewer, and I'm gonna just document and go back to the basics and see if I can learn. I hope you guys follow along and we can be motivated to work together and just encourage each other to try new things, simple or extravagant, and make some cool stuff. Let's get smithing. All right, so this is what I'm working with. I think this project should not take a lot of tools. We have the anvil, obviously, hammer, safety glasses. Now the book suggests that you use 12 inches of 1/4 inch round stock. I'm going to use about 20 inches of it. Now he's working with a coal forge and I'm working with the gas forge. The gas should let off more radiant heat and cook the material a little bit hotter, so it's going to be harder to touch. Now 20 inches should be enough, but if it's not, I have some Centaur forged tongs that should help me out there. And I don't want to use these pliers, but at the end we're doing a scroll, and if I struggle with it by hammer, we have that. So that's everything we need. So the first thing I'm going to do is have my material at an angle near the edge of the anvil. This line represents the anvil. And then my hammer at a complementary angle hitting it from the other side. Together, those two planes should force this into a point. And now the stock is starting out round, but I'm going to turn it 90 degrees every hit or every few hits to try to square it up. And then we'll see how it works out. So now that I have a square taper or point, I want to turn it into a round one. Now, by finding the corners and hammering directly through, I'll create multiple facets. So I'll go from 4 facets of the square to 8 facets of the octagonal. And then if I keep hammering the lines down, it should blend into something really close to round. Now the important part of this next step is that while doing this, I have to try to maintain my angle so I don't just make a flattened nub. It has to keep that point. This is where we're at now, is the square point. So my teacher used to say, aim for 90% perfection, because if you go for 100%, you're gonna go insane. So I feel like this could, maybe not 90%, but a B plus still, and that's passing, and I'm happy to move on. So the pokey end, I'm gonna call done and move on. Now we have to hang it by something on the other end. Now the way the book recommends it is take 1.5 inches of it, taper it, and then bend it 90 over the side of the anvil. If this is the anvil, you just hammer it flat against the corner. And then, using needle nose pliers or snub nose tongs, you create an arch, forgive my drawing, and then slowly work it around section by section until it's round. So we're gonna give that a shot. I don't typically like using needle nose pliers or snub nose tongs to create this, so I might try to hammer it that way by using pushover techniques that you'll see. So now I have it tapered on both ends. This one I did a lot faster and uglier because I knew in order to get the curl that I want, I'm gonna have to hammer on it again anyway, and I'm gonna undo a lot of that perfectionist work I could have put into this. So we'll see how it goes. So your heat is your number one tool. Without it, you're not going to get movement. You're not going to get shape. You're going nowhere. So if heat is force and movement, you can control how you move things with quenching in water. Right now, I don't want to hurt the small frail end of my taper that I'm working on, and I only want to curl the part behind it. So I'm going to use water to get rid of all the movement out of the end of the circle. Now that only the half that I want to move is hot, it'll be easier to focus on that without doing the nice curve I have in the end of it. Well, it would have been if I took advantage of this heat, but I'm talking to the camera instead. So I decided to try that using the side of my anvil, the horn of my anvil, and a hammer. I could have gone in there with the needle nose and just pinched it and pulled it, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I like to challenge myself in a way to figure out how can I get it to move in the way that I want to. And as you saw, it wasn't graceful, and it wasn't supposed to be. This whole exercise is I want to be a better blacksmith. And so I messed up a handful of times. I undid it and recurled it and figured it out. And it's very rewarding, even if it's just a simple scroll like that. All right, so one of my favorite things to look at, and most other people's as well, is twists on metal. And that's the next step. We're gonna add a twist design at the base of the hook. It's still circular. It's the same as the parent stock. A little bit of hammering from the back and forth, but for the most part, it's untextured. Now we can't twist it unless we have corners. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna heat up this section right here, just 3 or 4 inches behind the scroll, and square it up. Be careful not to overheat my scroll, so I'm going to be quenching the very end of it in water every time I take it out of the forge. Knocked out the square, and I should say that the crisper your corners are, the more it's going to show up in your twist. So if you want something that really pops and has these defined lines for your eyes to cling to as you're examining something, you really want crisp square corners. So let's see how I did. All right, not the straightest lines, but they are pretty sharp, at least here in the center. I like it. And again, we're only aiming for 90%. I don't need a perfect score. All right, so now I'm ready to think about twisting. Now I need to get from my heat source to my vise back here in the background, right here. Now, between me and the heat to the vise, I have my anvil with a very lovely sharp horn about groin height. So when I'm running with fire, I don't really want to be dodging sharp pointy bits, and there's trip hazards absolutely everywhere. This is, it's a bad idea. So the first thing I'm going to do is move my anvil out of the way and have my vise front and center. I'm spoiled because I'm working alone and my vise is not bolted down, so I'm going to set myself up for a success. got my twist on, and it's a little crooked, cattywampus, whatever. So what I'm gonna do with it is I don't want to hammer on it on an anvil because that will flatten out all of my lovely work. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a busted sledgehammer handle, and I'm going to use a wooden stump I have and kind of tap it into a straight line with the two pieces of wood. And that way the heat that I'll be using should kind of like burn through the wood without messing with the metal too much and preserve a lot of the twisting and the work. Hopefully it'll work out. So I need to amend that material list at the beginning of the episode. In addition to everything before, anvil, hammer, safety glasses, I used a vise and I used a wrench. Now the wrench I welded a little extra handle onto it, and that way I could have both hands on it. And I find that keeps it more in plane than if you just have one option or one hand. That just stick welded, but any adjustable wrench should do. And if you don't have a vise, you could clamp it to any surface area and do it horizontally. You could use 2 wrenches and a friend. I might feature some of that later on. All right, so I'm all finished with the forging. I put a pointy end on it, I put a scroll on the other end, and I did a pretty basic twist after squaring up the round stock. I got it in the quenching water right now. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, it's so twisty. It absolutely catches my eye in the light. I'm almost afraid it looks too good. Someone might say it's manufactured. And the pointy bit, still pointy. Let's reflect a little bit here. Take a seat on my anvil. First project down, the meat skewer. What did we do? We tapered. We forged square to round and round to square. We did that on a taper. We scrolled and we twisted. All fundamental pillars to be a successful blacksmith. I feel better having done this. Stronger, wiser, dirtier, smellier. And I'm excited. Hopefully we can keep this going and work our way through all the projects in this book, cover to cover. And next week we forge a bear trap. Thanks for watching, guys. This is the part of the video where I remind you to like and subscribe. And as an extra bonus, you get to see my beautiful dog.